Just to introduce myself, Tom Quinn, and I'm the Energy Services Manager with PowerGen Operations. Board Namona has been referenced a few times this morning. Thanks very much to Peter for the comments about solar PV. That is a big announcement, something we've been working on for a couple of years, and looking at innovative ways of what we can do with bogs that we've harvested peat from. We've supplied peat to an ESB-owned power station in Bellacorrick from our O&N facility, and again on Mayo and pilot projects and innovation. In 1992, Mayo housed the first wind farm, and Board Namona still owns and operates that wind farm today. And in fact, we have the manager of that wind farm here with us if anyone has any questions for John. And so just to talk then about recent and trying to share some information from Board Namona's perspective on energy efficiency and communities being resilient. Just to give that EU policy context then. So the EU has a 2020-20 target. They're trying to reduce greenhouse gases by 20%. The energy efficiency comes from a 20% drive for energy increase in energy efficiency. And then the renewables, wind farms, biomass, solar PV that's been referenced today, they're trying to increase the renewable energy mix by 20%. And as we know, these figures are ever increasing out to a 2050 carbon neutral number. And the increase in energy efficiency has been well flagged that they're looking for a 30% by 2030. So that resilience piece is something that we need to get better at doing. And I think Sean covered off very well what's required in the communities to do that. So a little bit again, going back to Board Namona, what we've been doing in energy efficiency. We've been involved in generating about 100 gigawatt hours of energy efficiency as measured in kilowatt hours. So that's equivalent to about the total energy consumption, electricity and thermal, in more than 5,000 homes. Or going back to the wind farm up in O&N, that's about 10 years of output from Ireland's first wind farm. We haven't done that on our own. We've worked across every single county in Ireland, and I've just put up some of the brands, companies, communities that we've worked with, including Údarás na Gaeltacht in 2015. In SAI's BEC programme, we were an energy supplier participating and supporting Údarás na Gaeltacht in their work. Done a lot of work with Longford. We have partners in energy efficiency, so Kingspan will be in their insulation on the fabric first, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a couple of slides. So just to give you a sense of the breadth of activity that Board Namona's had in energy efficiency. What type of measures have we involved in? Just specifically, you can see there solar PV has been referenced quite a bit today. Solar thermal is one where you're generating hot water as opposed to generating electricity on your rooftop. But again, it's a renewable piece, but it has an energy efficiency aspect to it. Attic insulation, external wall insulation, internal insulation. We're moving now into doing more things around boilers, heating controls. So you're starting to see now, Ruth mentioned about texting your boiler to turn it on so your home is warm when you come home in the evening time. That's the kind of work that we've been supporting in homes across Ireland. And then in the community, at work, we've been involved in heat pumps, lots of low energy lighting, energy management, which is going to be very important. A lot of what Sean talked about there in the smart grid, we can't be smart until we know what's happening in our homes and businesses around the energy piece. Efficient pumping controls, high efficiency boilers, transport, which hasn't really been referenced today yet. We've done a lot of work in transport. Board Namona ships, I think it's 1 million tonnes of material to the UK on an annual basis. Transport's an important fuel that we all need to sort of pay a little bit more attention to. And we were involved again with SAI and the BEC in a very innovative transport energy savings project. Installation and solar PV, again around that generating electricity on your own rooftop. Sean covered very well in his previous talk. I don't want to be doing a grab or anything like that on Clore's fantastic work in the community, but I was invited to make a reference to it, and it's very relevant today that we have recent and we have Clore is very active in the community as an exemplar. But they've been successful in their application for BEC support in 2017. This project is going to be about €800,000 worth of capital money spent on energy efficiency measures in the communities that they work in. And just some summary details there. They're going to touch off fire stations, sports centres, community halls, schools, retailers, all the type of profile of people that Sean and Ruth have covered off. And also Allergan, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Allergan as well, because it's the smart grid piece. And domestic householders, including the fuel poor sector. So it's a very innovative project, and we're delighted to be working with Clore and SEI in relation to that. So that's energy efficiency in a very quick tour, because it's been very well covered. Sean and Ruth have both talked about this smarter piece, and I suppose we feel that's a very important enabler as we all continue to drive towards being more efficient and more energy aware. So demand side management, in very short summary, is the customer knowing more about what they're consuming, whether that be in their house or at work. And that old adage of, if you can measure it, so if you can measure that energy consumed piece, then you have a much better chance of managing it. And that data analytics is going to be an enabler for people to get better information. So that information on your phone, you know, that heating at home, what's my boiler consumed this year, what am I doing, what's my profile, and where can I make savings? And Board and Amount has been assisting people at home and in work to understand that piece of information. Because you need to know that to demonstrate how did the low energy lighting make savings for me? How did the fabric installation make savings for me? How did that transport project make savings for me? You have to know what you were doing beforehand. So it's a key part of it. And then demand side response. And again, this ties into a lot of what Sean was saying. So once you know what you're doing, you can now respond. So I can make decisions about the 100 dishwashers, right? Or the 100 washing machines. Actually, we can make more informed decisions if we know what's going on across those. If I've solar PV, don't be turning on the dishwasher at night. Turn it on when there's max output. I can see there on my phone, yeah, my solar PV is at its max today. Now is the time to put on the dryer to get that clothes done, or whatever it might be in the home. And then equally in work, maybe you can shift your load patterns around for certain activities. If I've solar PV in my rooftop, now is the time to make sure that I'm not delivering meals between 12 and 2, because I should be charging my car around that. So we can now look at what we're doing on our energy load, but equally we can take signals from the grid. So I've mentioned our current wind farm that's in operation, and it's also been referenced about our new wind farm that we're hoping to get working on up in O&E, and also the solar PV that's in reference today. All of these are going to generate energy in ways that hasn't been done before. So in the incumbent plants, it's a very predictable time of day when those energy is going to be available. With renewables, it's a little bit different. So we need communities, customers, businesses to be able to respond to signals from the grid, and that's what demand side response is all about. So we're going to end up with this. So this is maybe pictorially or diagrammatically a little bit what Sean was talking about. All this has already happened at the moment. There isn't a huge amount of storage, but there will be more storage. There isn't a huge amount of solar PV, but there will be more solar PV. There isn't a huge amount of domestic CHP, but there's lots of small scale CHP, and all the way up to large scale 5 megawatt CHP happening in businesses. And I spoke about very briefly there Allergan on CHP, and we've actually worked with Allergan on demand side response initiative. So they're now able to take payments from the grid in how their load can act on site. And it's how we can do more with that, and how we can enable this so that the energy infrastructure, energy generation, and that everyone can participate in it, homes, businesses, communities. So what are Board and Amount doing in relation to this? Last year we bought into a company called Electricity Exchange, a very innovative company based in Limerick. And what they did is initially they were a registered aggregator of demand side capacity. So very simple, if you have a standby generator, if you can take a signal from the grid will pay you like they do a peaker plant. So now the grid has started to give signals to the market that they're getting ready for the smarter grid. This was the start of it. They've now developed, Sean referenced Internet of Things. There's an Internet of Things ancillary services, and this is all about how the grid can remunerate businesses and potentially move into the residential sector so that they can make payments to customers, to communities, to businesses to maybe shift load around. So if customers and businesses know what they're doing in their places of work and their places of home, that they can take signals and actually get paid for that. And that's going to be a huge enabler for energy efficiency. And as we, the great successful programs that Ruth mentioned in her presentation about that fabric first, we've reduced that, but we fill those cavities. There's insulation in those attics. What's next? And when the customer can start to see the impact of that on their actual bills and getting paid for that behaviour, well, that's what we feel is going to drive it even more. And we need to be well positioned to facilitate the customers do that. And that's what this sort of technology is doing. And effectively, it generates that data. It generates all that data and it puts it somewhere. And then it makes the technology that allows the grid to look at the data and makes those decisions. So it's not about the person in their home trying to make that decision. It's about letting the technology and the grid make that decision and then remunerating you accordingly for that. And that's in a very short space, which I think probably gets us back on track, Seamus, there on the time-wise and for the coffee and the tea break. So thank you very much.